Hi, today we're going to be showing you how to do a 7-strand Sennit braid. This is different than our previous 7-strand braids, and I'm going to show you a picture here that we found online. That's what a Sennit braid looks like. They've used some other strands, but we're going to incorporate those strands together and make a 7-strand braid. I've gone ahead and put different colored elastics onto her hair so you can see we've got a purple, yellow, red, pink, green, white, and blue. So hopefully that will help you kind of keep track of what's going on, because it will be a little confusing at first. Now I'm going to start with 4 strands on this side and 3 strands on this side. I'm going to take that outside strand over the adjacent strand and under the next 2. Now it's over as part of this side. So now I've got 3 over here and 4 over here. I like to just kind of separate them between my fingers. Now we're going to move to the side that has 4. Do the same thing. Over the adjacent one and under the next 2. So now we've just switched back. 4 on this side, 3 on this side. Repeat the steps. Over the adjacent and under the next 2. Now I'm going to tell you it's going to be a lot easier to do this hairstyle with wet hair. So here we go. Hopefully you can see that okay. I'm going to take this outside one over and under the next 2. So you can kind of see how that pattern's going. Over and under the next 2. Now it can be a little confusing holding all these strands as you keep going, but you'll get it once you keep practicing. So I'm just going to continue this braid. Over, under. Now I've kind of lost track of the elastic since we're getting down to where they were tightened, but I'm going to keep moving on so you can see how this braid's going to look. Over, under. So now I've got my 4 over here, and I'll just take my elastics out when I'm done with the braid. Over, under those next 2 and add it onto the opposite side. So that now we've got 4 over here. Over the adjacent and take it under those next 2 and slide it over. It's really not hard in concept, it's just keeping all the strands where they should be as you're working. That's the tricky part. Especially with dry hair, it becomes almost somewhat impossible to do. Over, under those next 2. Now you'll see that I take it over the strand, and then what I do is I grab that strand and then I grab those next 2 with one finger to move that strand over. It just is a little simpler for me. Okay, go ahead and tip your head down a little, honey. Over the adjacent and under the next 2. Over the adjacent, under the next 2. Let's just continue this braid down so we can get a finished product for you. And I have to say, the more you do it, the faster it becomes to do. It's not too hard of a braid, it's just kind of getting that rhythm. And you can see that it's making a really, really pretty style here. It's got a nice look to it. This is actually a rope tying trick, the Sennit rope. But we've gone ahead and just incorporated it into braids. That's basically all that braids are, is different ways of twisting and braiding and tying ropes and all sorts of things like that. Okay, let me walk through it just one more time as we're getting down here. Tip your head down, sweetie. Take the outside strand over its adjacent one and under those next 2 so that it gets added to the opposite side. Do the same with that opposite side. Over the adjacent and under the 2 right next to it. So now we've got 4 over on this side. Over and under over, and under. Now it gets really tricky as we start getting down to these low ends. You got to keep your hand holding that braid nice and tight. Oops, I've got a tangle there. Over and under, so it comes across. Over and under. And I am going to go ahead and stop ours right here. Hopefully you can see, tip your head down just a bit, sweetie. I'm going to secure that with an elastic just down at the bottom. And you can see how pretty that hairstyle is. It looks like two braids right next to each other. Has a really fun look. I'm going to go ahead and take out her little elastics. I like to use a seam ripper from a sewing kit to do that, because then it doesn't tear any of the hair. It's really easy to just pop right out. I'm going to do that with my remaining elastics, and then her hair is done. And that's the Sennit braid. Thanks.